The following content has been generated with artificial intelligence under minimal human supervision. The data presented may contain errors or inaccuracies. The opinions expressed in this content do not necessarily reflect the vision, position, or values of DigiAll. We recommend verifying critical information with additional sources before making decisions based on this content.
Welcome to DigiAll Tech News. Today is Sunday, July 12th, 2026. I'm Kylie Brooks, and this is where technology becomes clear and engaging. Mistral AI has introduced Robostral Navigate, an 8 billion parameter robot navigation model that uses one RGB camera and natural language instructions instead of LiDAR or extra cameras. As AI reshapes work, experts see the most durable roles clustering around human judgment, care, accountability, creativity, and skilled physical labor. AI infrastructure executives say demand for chips and data centers still far exceeds supply, even as companies move from maximum usage to stricter value checks. The AI race is shifting from simply building bigger models toward cheaper systems that route tasks, control costs, and use open-weight models where they fit. More than 100 anti-AI protesters marched through San Francisco from OpenAI to Anthropic and Google, mixing slushy day theater with serious fears about the technology race. Let's start with robotics, because Mistral AI is making a very specific bet. Useful navigation may not need a sensor stack that looks like a science project. Robostral Navigate takes one RGB camera feed plus instructions like leave the lobby, go through the corridor, enter the supply room, and face the second shelf, then turns that into continuous movement. On the R2RCE benchmark, Mistral says it reached 79.4% success on seen validation splits and 76.6% on unseen splits. It also beat the previous best single camera system by 9.7 points, and even beat the best multi-sensor or depth-based systems by 4.5 points, without LiDAR or extra cameras. Here's why that matters. Fewer sensors can mean simpler, cheaper robots for places like manufacturing, logistics, delivery, and hospitality, but only if the performance transfers outside controlled tests. The model was trained entirely in simulation on about 400,000 trajectories across 6,000 scenes, then improved with online reinforcement learning that added 3.2 percentage points by helping it recover from failures. I also like the efficiency detail here. A prefix caching, tree-based attention trick cut token use by 22 times compared with per time step training. The practical question is whether a benchmark win becomes reliable behavior around real people, messy lighting, and edge hardware constraints. Now to the jobs question, and I think the most useful way to hear this is not, which careers are magically safe? It is, which parts of work still require trust, judgment, and accountability? In medicine, administrative work like medical secretaries, pharmacy support, and routine prescription processing looks more exposed, while pharmacists, doctors, nurses, and prescribing clinicians remain central because patient safety decisions still need accountable humans. Radiology is singled out as vulnerable due to high-accuracy AI scan interpretation, while bespoke work like plastic surgery remains individualized. Education and early years care are a different story. Teaching, childminding, nursery management, and tutoring rely heavily on relationships and trust. Law is changing too, with document review and form filling putting pressure on paralegals and junior lawyers, while family law and litigation lean more on judgment, client interaction, and oversight of AI tools. Hospitality may move more work toward front-facing service and creative chef roles, and trades like bricklaying, carpentry, and plastering still look resilient, especially in small local firms. Banking points in both directions. More demand for data scientists, AI engineers, and software developers, but pressure on call centers, middle office work, and branches. The bigger issue is career progression. If AI absorbs the routine junior tasks where people used to learn, industries have to redesign the training ladder, not just celebrate efficiency. Here's the infrastructure tension in one sentence. The market is asking whether AI capacity is overbuilt, while the people selling and building that capacity say they are still short. Pat Gelsinger, the former Intel CEO, who is now a general partner at Playground Global, described demand as almost unlimited, with energy availability as the real constraint. Mark Boroditsky at Nebius, which builds NVIDIA GPU-based data centers, called demand extraordinary and far above supply. Andrew Feldman at Cerebras said compute demand far outstrips available capacity across the industry, and framed Meta and XAI excess capacity moves as unusual cases, not proof of a broad glut. Lumentum CEO Michael Hurlston added another supply chain signal. Its products are sold out for the next 5 years as the company ramps capacity. But the customer behavior is changing. Enterprises are moving away from token maxing, meaning use as much AI as possible, toward value maxing, where CFOs ask what return they actually get from expensive frontier models compared with open source alternatives. That matters because both things can be true at once. Demand for intelligence can keep rising, and buyers can still become much more disciplined about price, energy, and measurable ROI. And that brings us to the model race itself, because cheaper AI is not just about discounts, it is about architecture. Perplexity CEO Aravind Srinivas puts it plainly: the model alone is no longer the product. The product is the harness, the orchestration system, meaning software that decides which model to use, which tools to call, and when a task deserves a more expensive system. Perplexity's newer computer use system is built around China's OpenGLM 5.2 model, routing routine work to cheaper models and escalating only when needed. Benchmark general partner Peter Fenton predicts that more than 90% of tokens created could come from open-weight models over the next 18 to 24 months, possibly even by the end of the year. Ollama CEO Jeff Morgan says enterprise adoption is already broad, at more than 85% of the Fortune 500, including regulated sectors, with companies often starting with smaller local models for speed and data proximity. In practical terms, the center of gravity is moving from who has the biggest model to who can run the right model in the right place at the right cost. The trade-off is strategic as well as technical. Chinese open-weight models from groups like ZAI and DeepSeek can make AI cheaper and easier to distribute, but they also raise US policy and national competitiveness concerns. Finally, San Francisco got a very Bay Area version of AI backlash: slushies, costumes, brass band energy, and a march between the companies at the center of the debate. On Saturday, July 11th, more than 100 protesters gathered outside OpenAI's Mission Bay headquarters for the Freeze AI on Slushy Day March, timed to 7-Eleven's free Slurpee promotion. The roughly 2-hour procession, escorted by San Francisco police, moved from OpenAI to Anthropic's downtown headquarters and ended at Google's San Francisco office on the Embarcadero, with a stop outside Andreessen Horowitz, where organizer Michael Trazzi led chants aimed at Mark Andreessen. The visuals were playful, including homemade signs, a white van serving slushies, and Rohan Prasad, a 26-year-old former AI safety researcher, wearing a Barney the dinosaur costume while talking about human extinction risk. But the concerns were serious: uncontrollable superintelligent AI, environmental harms from data centers, job displacement, and what kind of future careers children will have. OpenAI, Anthropic, and Google did not respond to requests for comment. What stands out to me is the contrast. The protest looked almost parade-like, but the message from the participants was a call to slow the AI race down before companies and regulators decide what the guardrails are. Today's through line is control. Mistral wants robots to navigate with less hardware. Workers are being pushed toward the human parts of their jobs. AI infrastructure builders still see huge demand, while buyers demand clearer value. Model companies are learning that orchestration can matter as much as scale. And in San Francisco, protesters are asking who gets to set the pace. Thank you for staying informed with Digital Tech News. We'll be back with more updates as they develop.